Do you love guns? Do you love action movies and thrillers? Ever wonder if the firearms heroes and villains use on screen and the way they handle them holds up to reality? If so, you're in the right place. This channel was made for you.
Hello and welcome to Hollywood Guns. I'm your host Wilson. Whether you're into action flicks, classic thrillers, or unforgettable TV shows, this is the place where movie magic meets real-world firearms.
In this episode, we have a first for the channel, a collaboration with a firearms manufacturer to celebrate their cinematic legacy. We're counting down the top 5 most popular firearms they've ever made in terms of their representation in movies and TV shows, each chosen for screen presence, famous moments, and how the gun helped tell the story. We've got classics from the 80s, the 90s, and the modern era. We're going global with appearances in US productions and Hong Kong Gun Fu classics. And beyond that, we push to the stars with a visitor from outer space and the story of a rifle that made its way into the 23rd century in a war against giant arachnids. So, what will be number 1? Will it be a revolver with old school gravitas, a semi-auto that stole the scene, or even a rifle that dominated a battlefield sequence? And finally, stick around to the very end of the video for a bonus entry as we take a trip back in time to feature a firearm 60 million years in the making. Trust me, I don't think you'll see this one coming. So let's find out as we celebrate the release date of this video, 10/22. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Ruger Day. Kicking off the list at number 5, we have the GP100, which debuted in 1985 as Ruger's tough stainless steel revolver designed to succeed the older Security 6 and Service 6 lines. Built around a beefy, purpose-designed frame and heavy-duty internals, the GP100 is best known in its .357 Magnum chambering, with a 6-shot cylinder and a range of barrel lengths from compact snub-nose to long-barrel competition models. Its reputation rests on durability and serviceability. Robust lockup, a full-length barrel lug on many models, easily replaceable grips, and a simple, user-friendly mechanics, which makes it a favourite for heavy use. The example on the table is a modern 4-inch stainless steel GP100, which is also one of the most popular sizes in Hollywood. While vintage GP100s were 6-shooters, modern improvements in metallurgy mean that GP100s today, like this one, are offered with a 7th round in the cylinder. As you can see from IMFDB, its filmography is pretty long, with the notable modern appearances in The November Man from 2014 with Pierce Brosnan, who uses the GP100 in a Russian roulette moment, and Liam Neeson's Run the Night, where Neeson carries it as his main sidearm. We also see Martin Lawrence using the GP100 as his revolver of choice in 1999's Blue Streak, a film that saw him trying to capitalize upon his acting and action style of the earlier Bad Boys. But it's its vintage appearances that I think left the biggest cinematic impression. His first film outing that I can find is Tango and Cash from 1989, where Kurt Russell's detective Gabriel Cash carries a GP100 fitted with a very large early laser sight, the Imatronic LS45 mounted on the top. In the 1980s, big sights and early laser rigs were very much on vogue on screen. Think about the hardballer in the Terminator, the Jatomatic in Cobra, and the hunting scope on Kurt Russell's other iconic character, Snake Plissken's in Escape from New York.
What's the matter, Ace? Got a little headache?
You crazy guy! What did you do with my car? I believe in perestroika!
Welcome to America.
And the other film I wanted to spotlight is John Woo's Hard Boiled. If you're a regular here, you'll know that I missed a lot of the Hong Kong classics growing up in the UK, so I didn't know of this director's major influence on Hollywood action movies during the 1990s. Watching Hard Boiled while prepping this episode was revelatory. Some of the acting and the English dubbing can be a bit of a stretch for newcomers like me, but the action sequences are pure gold. Chow Yun-fat's Tequila runs through an enormous assortment of Cold War era hardware, yet his sidearm of choice remains a classic, dependable revolver, a brilliant, grounded counterpoint to all the movie's cinematic firepower. In at number 4, we have the Ruger Standard, aka the Mark series. And this is a long-running family of 22 LR target pistols that began with the original Mark I in 1949 and evolved into the Mark II, 1982, Mark III in 2004, and Mark IV in 2016. The Mark IV's headline feature is a one-button takedown for fast, tool-free field stripping, a massive improvement over earlier Marks, which, while excellent target pistols, could be fiddly to disassemble. The series is better known for target shooting, plinking, and small-bore hunting rather than frontline military work, which is why you don't often see it as the hero's primary pistol in Hollywood. Ironically, that small caliber and low report, especially when combined with a suppressor, makes it a perfect on-screen assassin's tool. Quiet, easy to conceal, and devastating in close-ups. A few standout movie moments. The Mark I pistol was turned into Greedo's DT-12 blaster in the original Star Wars, giving the little .22 a massive pop cultural cameo. More recently, The Mandalorian nodded to that lineage when Bill Burr's character Mayfield carries 2 in a shoulder holster and even pulls one using his robotic arm. In Collateral, Tom Cruise's Vincent uses a Mark II with an extra long integral suppressor in the jazz club hit, then promptly loses it when Max tosses it off a freeway bridge. This is another brutal, short scene that sticks with you long after the movie is finished, just like the Yo Homie sequence.
What a great story. I gotta tell the people in Culiacan and Cartagena that story.
You know the folks in Culiacan and Cartagena?
Rich so.
And finally, Antonio Banderas shows up for the first of 2 times on this list, wielding a Ruger in the appropriately named Assassins from 1995. A film that practically wrote itself as a love letter to the small but mighty .22, as an assassin's choice for close-in wet work.
A silenced Ruger 22. Classic. You know, I switched when I heard that's what you used.
This partnership with Ruger is allowing both Magpul and Ruger to be able to put together the best of both worlds.
The RXM is so versatile.
The EHG and the ability to customize and personalize your grip frame and pair it with a removable fire control insert, you can choose whatever top-end assembly you want.
Everything about it has taken it to the next level. The fit, the feel, the features, the function.
What's special is the collaboration between 2 incredible brands. And it created this innovative product, the RXM.
Counting down to number 3, we have the Red Hawk. And this is a large frame double action revolver, often in .44 Magnum, introduced in 1979. It was made in both blued and stainless finishes, and the Red Hawk was deliberately overbuilt. It had a beefed up frame, chamber and cylinder so that it could safely handle very hot, custom hand loads that other manufacturers' guns were not rated for. In the mid-1980s, a small production run of classic Red Hawks experienced barrel separations during shooting, and Ruger responded by developing an even beefier model, the Super Red Hawk, with an extended frame to accept scopes and hotter hunting cartridges. After investigating the failures, Ruger traced the problem to incorrect lubricant on the barrel threads used in that single batch. Rather than discontinue the original Red Hawk, Ruger fixed the issue and elected to keep both lines in production. The original Red Hawk, now offered in additional chamberings like the .357 Magnum and .45 Long Colt, and the Super Red Hawk for heavier scope-ready calibers like the .454 Casull. On the table is a Red Hawk in the 5.5-inch configuration, and that's the model we most often see on screen. Unlike the GP100 and the Ruger Standard, which made the list for 2 memorable appearances each, I slotted the Red Hawk at number 3 because it turns up in more major films, especially modern ones like Two Guns, where Denzel's character liberates one from these militant guys who are kind of self-styled border agents.
Morning, Poppy. Don't move.
Go inside. Quick.
Whose money did we steal?
You really want to know?
I really want to know. Easy.
In X-Men Origins Wolverine, the Red Hawk with a 7.5-inch barrel is shown loaded with fictional adamantium rounds, which Stryker uses to shoot Wolverine in the head and wipe his memory. While we're in sci-fi territory, I have to mention Men in Black. What do you think? The noisy cricket looks like it was clearly inspired by the Ruger Standard, right? However, in the movie, there is a real Ruger firearm, and we see the Super Red Hawk, where it gets brief but lots of memorable scenes as Edgar the Bug's gun.
Please.
I told you I don't know.
Find it.
Filmmakers love a large frame 44 Magnum when a character needs to appear larger than life, badass, or overflowing with confidence on camera. And this brings me to a final guilty pleasure movie, Tremors. Burt Gummer, who has one of the most memorable gunroom scenes in all of cinematic history, hands Melvin an unloaded Red Hawk, the firearm equivalent of Dutch Courage, to get him moving and outrun the graboids.
That's it! We're making a run for it! I don't know, man. They're too fast. Can't outrun them, no way! Yo, Melvin!
This will make them think twice.
Everybody ready to run! Let's get out of here! All right. Oh, Bert! You asshole! You asshole! There's no bullets in this gun!
Got you moving, didn't it?
Now we're getting down to the brass tacks at number 2. The Ruger P series was a family of full-sized all-metal double-action, single-action service pistols introduced with the P85 in the mid-1980s and produced broadly from 1985 to 2013. It was designed for military, law enforcement and civilian markets. The P90 in 45 ACP arrived in 1991 as Ruger's large-caliber P series offering, and the stainless KP90 is the stainless slide frame configuration commonly found on the used market. Typically a 4.5-inch barrel, single column 8-round magazine, ambidextrous safety, decocker options, and production ran all the way into the 2000s. Note that this is the only gun on the video that Ruger no longer makes, and this is now your opportunity, viewers, to talk directly to Ruger's marketing team in the comments. If you want to see this series brought back in its classic form or modernized like they have with the number 1 gun on this list, do your thing and send a comment now. Bring back the P series. Looking at the movies, we see it in a couple of cult favorites like The Long Kiss Goodnight and Grosse Pointe Blank, both of which are staples of any 90s movie night. But this one earns the number 2 slot, not because it shows up in memorable movies, but because it becomes the hero's main gun in not one, but 2 major of Blockbuster's biggest scenes, and that's what lifts it above the prior placements. The P series reaches peak 90s action movie status in its KP or stainless guise. Schwarzenegger and Tom Arnold packed them in True Lies from 1994, and a year later, Antonio Banderas turns them into a gun-fu classic as El Mariachi in Desperado.
I'm just looking for a man who calls Matador.
Finally, we've arrived at the top spot, and whether you're surprised will simply depend upon your age. If you're over 45, probably not, but perhaps so if you're a millennial or younger. The Ruger Mini 14 debuted in 1973 as a lightweight, scaled-down M14 style semi-automatic in 5.56 and 2.23 Remington, and quickly became Ruger's go-to ranch and patrol rifle. The original ranch rifle, introduced in the early 1980s, standardized the 18.5-inch taper barrel, ghost rear ring sight and scope mount receiver that made it popular with farmers, ranchers and law enforcement users seeking a brush-friendly, low-maintenance 223 autoloader. And Ruger also offered it in a factory folding variant, which probably gives you a clue to why this gun is at number 1. If you grew up in the 1980s or had young children at that time, then you already know, but for younger viewers or those living on another planet, let me add to the story. Such was the notoriety of this rifle and the longevity of its cinematic memory that a couple of years ago, Ruger seized upon its silver screen legacy and re-released it in an almost true and faithful reproduction of the original. The obvious big change is that the stock is now made from walnut, a much more commercially available wood today than the original birch folding stock that you can see on the table. Perhaps that's a negative to some, but the improvements probably outweigh it. The modernized version of the Ghost Ring sight is both better to use and easier to adjust, and although I haven't shot this new one yet, I already know from the forums that modern minis shoot much better than the old ones. Unfortunately, despite trying several grain loadings of 223 and 556, my old girl starts stringing shots pretty badly after about 75 yards. But before we get to the obvious #1 appearance, let's remember a few other movies it featured in. Romancing the Stone is a favourite of mine, Death Wish 3 and The American will spring to mind. But if you expand the selection to the fully automatic platform, the AC556, you can add even more classics like Escape from Los Angeles and Broken Arrow. However, one huge movie that I teased in the intro took the Mini 14 across the galaxy, and I only learned about this recently when filming an episode for the channel. The Mini 14 was the base rifle used inside the bullpup chassis and prop shrouds of the Marita rifles in Paul Verhoeven's classic Starship Troopers. Look out for that episode coming up soon on the channel. And there you have it, the top 5 Ruger firearms and their appearances on the silver screen. Almost. All that remains is to roll the montage. Ladies and gentlemen, this was as good as it gets on a Saturday evening when you're a 1980s teenage boy. Enjoy it if you're reminiscing. I know you know the words, even after 40 years. So get ready to narrate the opening monologue out loud with me now.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Let's go, guys!
4 men come out of nowhere and think they can defeat an army.
Well, we've done it before. Right, B.A.?
Right.
Okay, Hannibal, what do you want to do?
If we're gonna find out what's going on, we gotta hang back. Face, have you got a good cover fire position?
Yeah, I can see most of the street from here.
Good. Hold that spot. Everybody else close in and stay out of sight. Stay sharp. Safety's off. All right, they're armed. Now's the time.
Now, unless you've got a burning desire to look like a piece of Swiss cheese, I suggest you stand very still.
What the hell is going on, and who are you?
We're the big bad wolves who come to blow your house down.
Wonderful. All right, everybody into the tent. You didn't get a building permit from our executive offices, pal. We're gonna have to close you down. Who in hell are you? The A-Team.
I love it when a plan comes together.
And that is almost a wrap. But wait, there is more. Back in late 2020, Ruger acquired the venerable American rifle manufacturer Marlin, who can trace their roots all the way back to the late 19th century. John Marlin began making firearms in the 1870s, and the company became famous for lever-action rifles that rivaled Winchester through the 20th century. The original 19th century Model 1895 was revived in the 20th century, and the SBL model, which stands for Stainless Big Loop variant, became a distinct catalogue model around 2009, then saw a high-profile relaunch under Ruger. The 1895 SBL is the stainless modern hunting, kind of damp environment or marine variant built on that lineage. A rugged lever action in 45-70 government with a 6+1 capacity, roughly 19-inch threaded stainless barrel, a ghost ring rear and titanium fiber optic front sight, and a purpose-built receiver for hot big bore loads. And man, is this a beauty. We've already seen Arnold Schwarzenegger on today's list, and now it's time for his son-in-law to shine. Leading us out into the credits is Chris Pratt playing Owen Grady, the franchise's Raptor trainer turned action hero.
Stay in the car.
Zach! Christ! Hey, I am not one of your damn animals.
Listen, those kids are still alive, but you and I will not be if you continue to scream like that.
They're communicating.
I know why they wouldn't tell us what it's made of.
Engage!